Welcome to Get to Know Glasgow, the podcast that tells you what you need to know about student life at the University of Glasgow, from those who know it best. I'm Alice, an international officer here at the uni, and in this series I'll be chatting to 2 undergraduate and 3 postgraduate students about their Glasgow journeys.
Hi, I'm Jessica.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Missy.
I'm Shauna.
And I'm Serena. In each episode, we'll be sharing our experiences
and giving you our top tips
on everything from student jobs and budgeting
to making new friends.
So you'll know what it's really like to be part of Team U of G.
Let's get started.
Hi everyone, we're back for another episode with you today, and today's a really important one. So we're going to be discussing all things what to do when things get hard, academic, financial and wellbeing support for students here at the University of Glasgow. So Aaron, I don't know if you want to kick us off today with your thoughts around this.
Yeah, I think because there's so many students in general, in terms of support networks, it's really, really good. I've used a few of them myself, things like university counselling I find really helpful. And yeah, there's loads of support available, I think. I'm not entirely sure the exact links to access them, but there's loads of things you can do. I remember when I was in my first and second year, I sort of dipped in at counselling a little bit. Also financially, it's really useful, especially if students also paying a lot of money to come here. So yeah, definitely have a look on Google and stuff. And you can find whether it be mental support, financial support, even student listeners. Yeah, there's loads out there you can definitely access.
Yeah, and you kind of touched upon the kind of different levels as well, Aaron. Like, you know, there's a kind of student support kind of with the student listeners that we've got, which is nice when you're maybe just wanting to speak to someone else who's been through a similar thing that you're maybe going through, as well as those counselling services. And I think, as you said, it's all kind of very easy to find on the website, which is good. So you know where to go, and it's easy to kind of Google and search on our website if you are requiring any of that further help or guidance.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something which the university is great in providing. I applied to go and check out some counselling when I initially joined in around first year, because for me, I was in private accommodation in the town, not in the West End, which meant that I didn't really get to see people that were in my uni. It also meant when we went on strike, I didn't get to come into classes or see anyone, and it kind of felt like I was isolated. So I was really stressed because I always hear there's long queues for these kind of things, but they immediately took me in and saw me, and I didn't feel like they were a judgeful person, which is really quite nice, because often it can be quite intimidating when you're asking or reaching out for help. And they provided loads of different services for me, which was either face-to-face with an individual or over the phone or Zoom calls, and they just really tried to make it as comfortable as possible. So I really do think they have a great range of resources over here.
Yeah, absolutely, Serena. I think it's definitely one of those things where it can feel so daunting, but as you say, we're talking about it, and everyone kind of goes through these moments where they need that kind of additional support, and it can be nerve-wracking, but it's good to know that obviously you didn't feel like you were waiting for a long time. You were kind of going through that. So it's really good to hear that it was easily to access for you as well, because everyone who's either coming to the university for the first time, or even as you're going through your studies, you know, you're going through life at the same time. Different things can crop up in your own kind of personal life as well as maybe your academic life. So there's lots of things to balance. So there's so many changes that you're going through, and everyone kind of goes through those same changes. So yeah, I think that's really good to hear. Jessica, is there anything that you've kind of been accessing in terms of any support at the university?
Yeah, so for me, less university specific support. I think it's been touched on a lot, how good the resources are at the university. But as an international student coming in, it is really important to get registered with a GP. So outside of the university support, just finding a doctor that's near you, on your side of town, wherever you're going to be living. And for me, it was super easy to register with them. I found a GP that's 5-7 minute walk from my accommodation. Just went on their website. They were taking new patients, did all the forms, emailed it to them, got registered. Because when I was coming in, I had a pre-existing prescription from back in the US that I would need to get consistently filled over here. And I mean, even if you don't have a prescription, it's just important to have a doctor. So if you do get ill, if something does happen, you don't have to, like, oh, I don't have a doctor here, like I need to register. Like, it's just good to have that set up already so you can do that and access it when you need it. So it was super easy for me to do that and then get the prescription I needed. And then for my GP, there's like literally a Boots like right next to it. So I can, go to the doctor and then pick my prescriptions right next door. So I think it's just important to do that as soon as you can after arrival so that it's already set up and established when you do need that service.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good point to touch on as well, Jessica. There's going to be lots of international students who obviously come to the University of Glasgow, and that can be one of those things where you think it could be really difficult to do. So it's nice to hear that it was a reasonably smooth process for you to be able to kind of access your prescriptions that you already had. And so that was easy to do when you arrived as well. And I think there's certain things for international students where there's lots of support for international students specifically because it is that kind of big move, maybe away from home to different kind of processes. You are able to register for a GP because you're paying kind of the immigration health surcharge when you're doing your visa process. So that allows you to access all of those services that you're talking about, your GP, those dental services and things like that. And I think another really good one for the international students is basically the new student buddying scheme that has been started. So it's basically kind of new undergraduate students, so first year international students who we call wee buddies, will basically be matched with returning students who are big buddies, and they can kind of help support and guide you through those initial things in semester one in terms of maybe where to go, like where's the best pharmacy to go, where are good advices for accessing GP services and all of those types of things. So I think, yeah, having that kind of international kind of perspective from you is really, really helpful because there can be different things which are on international students' mind in terms of accessing services in a new country.
I think there's also like from an international perspective, I don't know, like everyone's coming from different places. Like there's such a diverse group at the university, but like as someone coming from the United States, there's definitely a mindset about how like healthcare is in America. So I like had no clue how things worked over here. And it was very daunting just because healthcare's the way that it is in America. And it's so much easier over here. Like it's insanely easy to like just get registered and like get what you need. It's not like a big hassle or like a multi-step like ongoing like nightmare process like at all. Like it is genuinely very easy to get the services you need and get the prescriptions you need. So yeah, I think just for any incoming students, I think if I had known that like ahead of time, it's a huge weight off your mind to know that it is easy to get the services that you need once you're here.
Yeah, I totally agree as well. Like, I was in Spain last year with my year abroad, and I won't lie, trying to get things like healthcare. The uni were great. The uni had a really good healthcare scheme for us, but it was more the actual accessing it through the insurance company, then going to the GP, like their equivalent of GPs over there, was complicated. So I'll admit we're pretty lucky. I think in Glasgow, everything's pretty standard. It all sort of makes sense. Like you have very phone GP in the morning, you get your appointment later in the day. It's quite straightforward. Anything you need to go and get, you just go to pharmacy and grab it. So we're pretty lucky here. It's all quite straightforward.
Yeah, absolutely, Aaron. And you kind of touched on like going for your year abroad and the experiences. It's always different going to somewhere new.
Yeah.
I suppose there's like lots of support in the university that we've talked about in terms of like the counselling and the peer services that we have. But maybe is there any kind of like financial support that anyone has gone through as part of their time at university? If there's any kind of any guidance?
No, totally. I think financial support, any support academically, I think my bit of advice, it's a little bit naughty this, but I always tag the head of school or basically the highest up person in that sort of, you can find online when you go to like your sort of UG staff, you can find your lecturer's boss essentially. You might find sometimes if you email a lecturer, it's not because they're a nasty person, but they won't get back to you because their inboxes are just so busy. So often what I find really useful is you tag their boss or you CC their boss into the email and then they'll get back to you a lot quicker. So yeah, that's a bit of advice that I tend to use. And whether that's to do with financial stuff, academic stuff, for me it works really, really well in terms of just getting back in a reasonable time, or they either get back to you sort of 4 months later and they sort of go, well, now the issue's sort of solved. So it might seem a little bit cheeky. Or if that doesn't work, even when you go online, on the UG website, you'll find each lecturer and you'll find their office hours and where the office is. If you're not sure, you can also use the UG Life app and find out where the actual office is. I found an experience when you go to see them in person, they quite enjoy that sort of more human interaction rather than just emails or Zoom calls. So definitely either tag their boss or go and see them in person, and they'll be more than happy to chat to you about anything you need.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think for me, something I use a lot is the SRC. I think they have a lot of kind of outreach, whether it's for like academic support or perhaps you're just having a tough time. They are really great at kind of making that connection. Like you said, if your lecturer is not, because they're not like a nice person, they're just really busy and sometimes they don't see your emails. So a lot of the time I would kind of go to the SRC, go, listen, I'm trying to contact this lecturer because of this, whether it is maybe I need a good cause, something like that. They're really good to go to. Also the chaplains. The chaplains are also here for support. It's not just perhaps religious support. They are so lovely and so sweet, and they're definitely people you can go to if you're trying to figure out something academically, financially. They're always there to, again, give support. But I don't think they're mentioned as much perhaps, but they are also a really great like gateway into that.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear actually, Serena, because I think that's it. There is so many support pages and there's lots of different routes where you can get support at the university. And it's kind of, it can be up to you as an individual of like, do you want to go to the SRC and speak to students, or is it something maybe that the chaplaincy service can help with? And I think having those different routes is really good, so you kind of know your comfort levels, because often when you're reaching out for help, as I was saying earlier, it's a little bit daunting sometimes. So having those kind of different ways that you can go and get that support is really useful. And I know the SRC might have been quite busy kind of earlier in the summer when it was kind of our exam period. They can help a lot around exam, like the stress that people feel around exam period. Everyone experiences that because you feel a lot of pressure when it comes round to that stage, and they can kind of help with different ways to help you de-stress during that kind of time as well.
Just to add on also about the SRC, that was like a new like thing for me, like coming here. And I actually ended up like being the student representative, like within my program. There was 2 of us. And like, I'm sure there was like a student council, like when I was doing my undergrad, it was just not something I was like aware of most likely, but it's definitely like really like structured, like, or at least for like in my post-grad program. And that was, I think, a great resource to have, just having it be encouraged to like give the lecturers your feedback in that way. Because like, you know, we'd have like the Zoom meetings, we'd have meetings with them and talk to like my peers beforehand and be able to like give them feedback was just a really great like academic resource, because they could either like implement it like in real time or like for future classes they could implement it. So I think that was just a really like good academic resource that I wasn't expecting to have whenever I came here. Yeah, just being able to have like that open like avenue of communication between like lecturers and students, so that they're actually like, they want the course to be as good as it can. So they're like open to suggestions and what does work and what doesn't work and how they can like really make it like the best that it can be.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with that. I was going to also mention most of your course will have like class reps, someone or 2 people who are in charge of the course sort of thing. Be as honest as you can with them, because honestly people, like, I was a class rep in first year for one of my French courses and people just didn't really honestly say what they thought. I then chatted to I was like a student mentor in second year, and a guy who was studying a French course sort of had the same issues that we all had, but no one in my class at that point said anything about it. This guy was saying, oh yeah, well this class is a bit annoying, they don't cover X, Y and Z. So be as honest as you can with lectures. Also they want you to enjoy it as much as they might seem they don't enjoy it themselves. They actually do, and it is their area of expertise. So if you are thinking, that this course would be better doing that, or I prefer this rather than that, like, even just say it. Even if they can't do it, they will have to raise it at the meeting because it's something that shouldn't said. So even if they're like really, really daft ideas, like I can't be bothered doing a Monday 9 a.m. course, say it. Because if you don't say it, they can't change it. They'll have to at least look at changing it. I remember I once said, like, cause I had in my second year, I had like everything Monday to Thursday, and then the last minute they changed stuff Friday morning at 9. And I thought, I want to go out on Thursday nights. I love going out on Thursday nights because it's still student deals. And I managed to say to my lecturer, listen, I can't stand, I'm not waking up for 9 a.m. Friday. And I managed to go to Thursday at 4 p.m, which wasn't ideal, but it was better than Friday. So again, raise the point, and they will be talked about in the meetings.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. I was a class rep. My dissertation has fried my brain. I was the class rep. Yeah. And like there was one time where like collectively, like my program, which like there's not a ton of us in my program, but everyone like disagreed on like what a deadline was. Like just one thing was due at the same time as something else. And we were like, wait, like this should be due later than that. And like just openly addressed it, like sent a letter to there wasn't a meeting like scheduled for us to bring it up. So we just like as a class like sent a letter to them, and it like got changed, and we got like a huge extension on it. So yeah, just like whatever, just communicate or else it won't get you. Like don't be afraid to bring up things. And they, most of the time, in my experience, I've had good experiences. I know it's not always like that, but they will accommodate to the best of their ability.
Yeah, totally. And I think a big difference between like school and uni is that, or sort of high school and university, is that difference of like you're all seen as adults. Whereas in school, like if someone was to raise a hand and go, sorry, this is due next week, teacher would be like, nah, like see you later. Whereas like at least in uni, it's like you're all there trying to collect and make the course a better course. So like you said, any ideas, definitely bring them up. And then they'll be talked about, and hopefully go your way. If not, then again, if things don't go your way, if what you asked for isn't accomplished, probably find that other people might end up saying that again. So it's always worth raising anything, any ideas you have, any suggestions about deadlines or classes or anything in the course. Always absolutely raise them.
Yeah, I think if you don't ask, you don't get. You won't know until you raise any issues that you feel. And it's nice if you're kind of working as a collective with your classmates as well, if there is something. And I think, feedback is important. Like the university is happy, some things are difficult to change, but if we can change them, it would be really good to kind of hear the feedback and, not just try and change things. Or if we don't know, then it's very hard to change something that you think might be working well. But for students, it's just not appealing to them or not kind of going that way. I suppose kind of staying on like the academic kind of support. I know that like there's study advisors and things like that. Is that kind of a useful resource that you find in terms of any support you need academically?
I think so. I've had like a lot of support sometimes academically because sometimes there's been deadlines very close together. Because a lot of the time, if you're doing, for example, like a joint degree, sometimes the colleges don't speak to each other in terms of when their deadlines are. So then I once had an exam, a portfolio, and an essay due in the same day, and I was very stressed. So I did go towards the advisors and say, what do I do about this? How do I do this? And they're like, here, maybe organize your time in this way. If you're feeling a bit nervous about this, maybe do get an extension if it's something that you think, even with organization, I maybe am not going to get the best result as if I maybe had an extra day or two. And they're just really great to talk to because you don't feel judged. I feel like there's often a kind of stereotype that you need to be the best at all time, and realistically we're all human beings and we do have times where we're either going through a tough time or we have so many things and we're really, really busy, and I think they don't judge you for that, which is something that is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I used a lot of the academic advisors when I first joined. I did a law and French degree for about 2 weeks and I dropped out of it. And actually, if I never went to my advisor, I might have even dropped out of university full stop. So my advisor said to me, listen, if you enjoy languages, go for that. And then obviously I ended up taking Spanish on as well. And then I ended up having my best year of my life in Spain last year. So absolutely use them because these guys are experts. They know what you're going to, what the courses are and what they include and stuff. So they are just like fountains of knowledge. So just use them and chat them. Any questions you have with any, whether it's even cruise advice or what it can be after university or as such intricate stuff like the course itself, they are fountains of knowledge. So absolutely use them.
Yeah, and I think that's important, Aaron, of what you were saying of with our undergraduate degrees, if you're doing like an art or like the arts or the social sciences, there is that flexibility in those undergraduate degrees. So it's quite difficult when you're young and you're making a decision for the rest of your life of what you're going to study, and there is that kind of pressure. So sometimes when you start and you think for you, law is not for me, but that could have easily turned into, as you said, that you just thought university maybe wasn't for you, but having someone there to kind of bounce those ideas off and see what else is kind of available is really useful at those early stages as well. So I think for students coming in, it's I keep saying the word daunting, but it is that way of it's never too early to reach out to someone. It can be quite different when you go from, as you mentioned earlier, Aaron, it's quite different going from high school into university, but you're there to make these decisions for yourself, and there's those people there to help advise you along the way who have been through this with other students and kind of know how best to support you through it.
Totally. And I think the undergraduate program here is fantastic in terms of how flexible it is. Most of my friends that I've met from other universities and stuff, they say you wouldn't have the option to change such a kind of big change in a course. You probably would have to either start again or reapply next year. But the fact you can, for your first, I don't know for all courses, but for my School of Arts and their College of Arts, you can sort of usually change or sort of chop and change what you want to do. And I think if you have that flexibility, it's definitely worthwhile looking at it and seeing, make sure you're doing what you actually enjoy doing, because there's no point obviously doing 4 years of a degree that you're not too fond of. So having that flexibility is really, really good. It's really helpful.
No, that's brilliant to hear. And Jessica, I suppose it's a little bit different for master's students. It's a bit more structured. You've only got kind of a year to kind of do this. Have you had anything with a student advisor or anything where, or have you just felt like there was a right course for you? There was no kind of issues around that on the academic kind of side?
I've been pretty content with my course. I think like speaking about the student representative thing again, I think that was really the resource that I used the most. And with like, I didn't even fully understand what it was. It was the orientation. And they were like, we need people to be like class reps. And I was like, I like being involved in things, sure. And just raised my hand and didn't really know what I was signing up for. But then it was really cool because I got to learn by like actually being the class rep and like being the person who kind of had to like being the middleman between like my peers and the lecturers and like taking in their info and like their feedback and then passing it on. But yeah, no, I think I've been pretty content with my course as a whole. I think with coming from a different country to here, I made sure I was like very sure what I was getting into and like my program before I got over here. So yeah, I haven't really had like any doubts or needed any like academic guidance. And that way I've been very fortunate that I've been happy with my course and I've been very like confident in my decision. And I think the experience I've had in my course helped like reaffirm that. My lectures have just been like really lovely and like right now like working on my dissertation, but like just to really hype up my program, like my advisor's been wonderful, like responds to every email, like has meetings with me as much as I want. Like I feel completely supported with my dissertation and with having that like academic support behind me.
That is so fantastic to hear, Jessica. It's always nice when you find someone, I think that's part of it as well, like someone who you just work well with as well, which is really nice. I suppose what I'm going to say now is, I know we've probably covered a lot of it, but what would be your final thoughts in terms of what a student should do when things get hard? What would be like your go-to for students?
I'd say if you are like in that kind of space where you're like, I do need help, but you aren't too sure, definitely check out obviously the university website, see the resources, because obviously like not everyone can have or like use the same kind of processes, stuff like that, because sometimes you don't want to speak to someone who's older than you. Sometimes you want to speak to someone who's a similar age because you think maybe they'll relate to me a bit more, maybe I won't feel as like scared. But if it's something that you are concerned about and it's something that you feel isn't getting any easier, then definitely reach out to friends, peers, teachers, like any resources that there is there, because at the end of the day everyone just wants to help you have the best uni experience, and I definitely think it's the way to go.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the key word is like reach out. It doesn't really matter, even don't be scared if you reach out to the wrong person. Usually you'll find in university like people, even if they can't help you themselves, they'll direct you somewhere where they can help you. If you get in touch with the wrong person, they'll say, actually I can't, but get in touch with X, Y and Z, and they can. So yeah, the more you reach out, the better chance you've got of finding the person to help you. So absolutely just reach out as much as you can to whether it's lecturers or SRC, or like you said, Alice, there's so many different people who you can be in touch with. So I absolutely use them and yeah, be in touch as much as you can with them.
I think I would really just stress like utilizing the university's like mental health resources, because as much as I do prefer the way healthcare works over here, there is still like NHS like wait times. So if you are someone who was like seeing a therapist or something like back in your home country, either like talk to your GP and raise that like immediately to see about how you could do that and have it covered, because the other option is going private, which is like paying out of pocket, or just like really utilizing what the university is offering you in terms of mental health services, like while it's there for you, while you have that option, rather than completely having to rely on, you know, like NHS or private or whatnot. Yeah, just keep your mental health in check and use what the university offers to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that kind of mental health piece and the wellbeing support is a really good one to kind of reach out to and kind of leave it on. And as part of that as well, there is a disability service as well. So if anyone has any disabilities who's coming to the university, there's lots of advice and a team there that can help with anything that you might need as well to make your study the most, like the best time, but also the most supportive and fun time that you can have at the university as well.
We hope this episode has been useful. If you're interested in finding out more, you'll find the links you need in the show notes. And you can visit glasgow.ac.uk/get to know Glasgow. Thank you for listening, and bye for now.